Checking out XRP right here on the weekly chart, we can see pretty much the price action is literally identical to what happened back between 2014 and 2018 over here. Essentially, we're doing the same type of structure. And I know a lot of you guys already know this, but this is videos for if someone doesn't know. And what we have here is a rise, crash, right? We have our bottom and a deviation. Same thing here, a rise, crash. We have our bottom, and then there's your deviation, which was the C19 event. And then what happened is we came back up into a retracement. Same thing here, we came up into a retracement. Now keeping in mind, while the rest of the market was going in a full-fledged bull run, like Chainlink, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Matic, Filecoin, Theta, they were going in full-blown bull runs. XRP did not go into a bull run. It didn't even break the all-time high. It did not go into price discovery. That is why it is my opinion that we're seeing such strength right now coming out of XRP, because there's a lot of pent-up demand, especially with the SEC's foot over the Ripple company's throat. And now we start to see that pressure alleviated. And since, for example, like if we look at, for example, let's take a look at Theta. If you look at Theta for just a moment, you can see we basically had one giant bull run, right? And now you can see we're struggling a little bit here. You know, we're still sort of at the lower part, right? You got the middle part, and then you got the upper part, right? We're struggling somewhere right around the middle here. But if you compare that back to XRP now, you can see very clearly here that XRP is right back to the all-time high. So versus something like Theta or whatever coin, right, being way down in here still. So again, one of the big reasons that is because again, XRP has been going sideways for so long. And this is why throughout making videos, throughout in here, I've been saying XRP is my number one holding, even though people didn't understand why, because it didn't do anything. It was basically acting like a stable coin. But the reason why I was so bullish is because we were doing very clear wave structure in here for me, and I'll explain that in a minute. But also the phase of it was reaccumulation, just like what happened down here. So after we got our little retracement back in here, we came down into reaccumulation, right? You can see a three-wave move down, a three-wave move down. And then we started basically just consolidating in box number one, same thing here. Then we came into box number two, same thing here, just way bigger, twice as big, right? And then we had our liquidity grab right here, same thing here, and that's what's initiated this giant rally, the only rally really XRP's ever had as far as a bull run is concerned. So now it's all about, well, what now? You know, we've seen XRP go from, what was that at the low here, for 42 cents or so, all the way up to basically all-time highs. We did poke above the all-time high ever so slightly. You can see that was $3.30, and this was more so about $3.40. But it wasn't a sustained break. It was just a little poke, just testing the waters. You know, so what we're doing now, in my opinion, is kind of just consolidating, flagging out a little bit, getting ready for that next move to the upside. Because if you look closely, you know, we want to look for 5 waves in here, right? So we have a wave 1, flag out for a wave 2. There we go. And then we shoot up for a wave 3. And then we have an ABC. That's an expanded flat for a wave 4. And now what we want to see, a little bit of consolidation and then go up for that wave 5, right? Let's get that wave 5 coming in. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to play out here. And if you look right over here, you could see this is the all-time high, this is the retracement, and this is that first move up. That's the same thing here. So basically this move here is the same as this move here, right? So you have the all-time high above the retracement, right? It's that little correction here. We pull back and then we slingshot back up, and then we consolidate for a good 5-6 months, and then we go up and end the phase. Now I'm not sure if we're going to get this move, but I'm pretty confident we will get this move. And if we do get that move, then let's see exactly where we went to. So if you take a Fibonacci retracement from the top of this wave to the bottom, you can see we actually went way beyond the 4.236. So then in that instance, I would go to settings and I would scroll down and I would turn the fib levels based on log scale. And you can see very clearly it respected it much more. And you can see very clearly we hit the 2618 perfectly, right? We actually poked above it just ever so slightly. All right, so if we look, I want to get the exact measurement here. And if we start from the 2618 and we go up, that was a good 17-18% above the 2618. Okay, so if we do the exact same thing now, and we go back to our current area here, and we do the same thing, and it's a little bit different because this is technically the top of the third wave, so you would take it from here back down to the bottom of the C leg, right? And you can see the 2618 actually comes in at $6.53. So if we go up 17% above that, that's going to actually put us around $7 and let's say 70 cents. So 770, right? 770. So yeah, I think that's a very reasonable approach to a fifth wave. Now, here's the cool part. Oftentimes, when you get expanded flats like this, a lot of times you'll get an extended fifth wave that could push us much higher than that, right? So we have, the 1618 at $4. That would be sort of the minimum target. And then you have sort of 550 up to 650 up to 7, right? Which would be your third. So 1, 2. And then you have your higher targets, which is above 8, above 9, all the way up to like 10, 11, 12, right? Somewhere up in here. So we don't really know exactly where it's going to go, but that's why we look for 5 waves, right? So if we can get 1, 2, we can measure the 1 and the 2 so that we can get the third. And then we can measure the third and the fourth in order to get the fifth, right? So by that time, it's probably likely you're going to have either a mid-cycle correction or a full-fledged bull market. I don't know if we're going to have a full-fledged bull market just based off one more wave. I mean, it seems a little weird. You go 7 years. Look at the base, right? First of all, the biggest base in crypto history is that's a notable top 10 is actually XRP, right? The bigger the base, the higher in space. So you can see back over here, we had about 20, it was 20 bars on the 2-month. So that was 40 months. We went 40 months sideways here. This was actually 80 months going sideways. So it's twice as big as the one before it, right? And we had approximately from the moment of breaking the all-time high, let's see, how do I want to do it? Let's start it from the bottom here, and then we're going to go all the way up to the top, and that gives us about 260 days. All right. So if it's 260 days, then that's something we should look for, right? Maybe 260 days. But since it's twice as big, that could be pushing 500 days, right? Like 520 or something. So that could be a lot longer. So if we go out, let's just go out 250 days from the bottom here. If I could get it right there, we'll go out 250 days or so, right about there. That actually makes sense to me because that brings us back into the October timeframe, November, December, and that's usually where the cycles like to end, is October, November, December, or they could end in the spring. So it's either we're going to have a fast and furious alt season that ends sometime in April or May, or we're going to have a continuation in February, March, April, May, and then we'll have a mid cycle correction that takes all summer, because summer is very bearish for crypto. It basically does nothing all summer. Sometimes you get these little pumps in there and there, but it's mostly just very bearish. So if I had to figure that out, we have a 1, 2, 3. Maybe we come up for a 5 here. We have so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we flag out all summer here, just like we did back over here. And then maybe October, November, December, we pop the high one last time, and then that's where the bear market starts. I mean, yeah, I could see something like that. So that's kind of what I'm expecting here. We've gotten it right so far, very, very, very well. A lot of people was looking at this range that couldn't make sense what the hell was going on here. But it's pretty clear if you ask me. There's different ways you can look at it. You can look at it from a phase perspective, right, which is rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation sideways, and then you blast off. Same thing over here, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So we're expecting the blast off. You can also look at it through the eyes of Elliott wave. So if you look closely, now we can take all that off because we don't need it anymore. If you look at it closely, you could see we have 3 up, 3 down, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a 3, 3, 5. A 3, 3, 5 is an ABC. Okay, so that's 3 up. So we have 1, 2, 3 up, and now what we look for is 3 waves down, and that's exactly what we got. So this was the height of that little of this range here, and that's when the SEC came out, or the Judge Torres came out with the SEC as which Ripple is not a security, or XRP is not a security. Yeah, so that was a really good day. That happened in July of 23, and it was a really important part of the XRP story, right? Because it said, hey, XRP is not a security. But XRP, everybody thought, okay, we're going to go up to space now. But honestly, you had 3 waves up. So it doesn't just go up immediately. What has to happen here is we need 3 waves down, right? So we had an A, and then we come up in a B. So there's your A. We come up in a B. We had 3 up, so 5 down, A, 3 up, there's your B, right? And then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, there's your C, right? Same thing here. You had an A, B, and a C, right? So at that point, you have 3 up and you have 3 down. Now what do we look for? We look for 5 up, right? So we had a wave 1, and then we cock-backed in an ABC for a wave 2 here. Let me just show you real closely here. If I can zoom in a little bit more, you can see we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, right? And then this could also be a 1, 2, and then a 1, and then another 2. Or you could look at it like a 1, and then an A, and then a B, and then a C, some kind of running flat, if you will. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, but basically we were flagging out. So there's your 1, there's your 2, and if you go back and watch my videos, all throughout here, I was extremely bullish. I kept making XRP videos every day saying, look, 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 look what's happening. And sure enough, blast off. We had a massive breakout because we were waiting for that third wave. So what we have is pretty simple. So you have your the peak of the bull market, the bear market, the retracement, three waves down into a retracement. You had three up in reaccumulation. You had three back down in reaccumulation. You had a 1-2 setup. I mean, it was perfect. It was primed. But nobody could see it. A lot of people could see it, but a lot of people did not know what was going on. They just figured, oh, XRP is boring. It's going sideways. It's not doing anything until it didn't, until it woke up the beast, right? Remember, sideways is good. Most people they don't invest into assets until they hear about it on the news or they hear about it from a friend. But by that time, it's already too late. So you want to invest into things, right, before they have their big moments. And in order to do that, you have to look at the price structure. And that's what we do on the channel. So I think this is still got more room to go because remember, the bigger the base, the higher in space. But remember, we haven't even broken out of the base yet. We're still technically inside this massive base that's been going on for 7 years. Okay, so if you look at the base very closely, you could see right here, let me just put a couple lines up here. So there's the top and there's the other. So basically those two lines, that's exactly where we're trading in between, right? Because what we're doing, if you think of the price, it's a structure, right? Think of like a Las Vegas casino. You have to have structure at the bottom of the base, right? A strong platform so that you can build upon, right? So you got to have that strong base down here. So by coming up and essentially knocking on the door of the all-time high, so you basically have two pivots, the all-time high and the retracement level. What happened here is the price actually got all the way up here, came back down, came back up, and it's filling in the gaps essentially. So if I turn it up to the weekly, maybe the 2-week chart here, there we go. So there's actually, there's really no trading history between this black line and this black line. There's no history except this little tiny wick, right? So what the price is doing is it's testing the upper part of this range, right? Think of this whole thing like a range, right? So it's testing the upper part of the range and it's testing the lower part of the range. So you can see right here, the price comes up, tests the top of the range, the top of this wick, and then it comes down, tests the bottom, which is testing this wick. So what it's doing is it's building a volume profile. Your VP, I think it's a volume VPR or something like that. I don't really use volume profiles, but basically it's creating structure within a blank spot. So it's kind of like if you're, building a building and you have a support beam there, but you don't have a support beam right here, it's basically creating that support beam, that little this little blank space. It's creating structure in that blank space, so that's filling in those gaps, so that it'll be stronger, right? So it's kind of, so there you go. So you have this test the top, test the bottom, test the top again, and then come back into an expanded flat. That's one of the best structures, one of the best corrections you can have. So if we zoom in closely here, we come up, right? We test it down, and then we test it up. And then here's the important part. We have an expanded flat. So A, B, C, right here, we actually went below the line. We went below the line. And this wick was very important because it was testing whether or not this is true or not. See, the price is like a self-conscious teenager. Do I look good? Do I look bad? do I look okay? I don't know about this. I don't think I should. They're very self-conscious about themselves. They have low self-esteem, right? The price has low self-esteem. They're not confident about themselves at all. So what has to happen is the price has to prove it to itself. Like it has to come up, it has to come down, it has to come back up, and then it has to come back down. And when it came back down, it was actually a liquidity grab that we sliced right through that line, and boom, we tested it. So basically, that's like the teenager being voted prom queen or prom king or something, right? Now their self confidence is high. It's like, whoa, I actually went down here and I tested and I came back up. So now the price is feeling good about itself. But here's the cool part, or here's the tricky part, I should say. We need the weekly close, right? So we have 4 hours left for the weekly candle to close, and we're about to close above this line after the liquidity grab. So I think this is a very bullish chart. I think we got more upside to go. And remember, this whole thing hasn't even begun yet. People say, "Oh, it's too late for XRP. It's already too late." No. It hasn't even started yet. It just came back to the all-time high. This thing's got way more to go. In my opinion, not financial advice. I could be wrong. It could be over, and we could go to zero, and you can lose all your money, right? I don't know. Could happen. Who knows, right? We just don't know. But at the end of the day, we kind of do know, because we're looking at the price structure here, and it's pretty clear, and we've been doing pretty well so far, especially with XRP. So essentially, we're basically just barely approaching the price discovery mark, right? So here's your retrace, your reaccumulation. This is actually a second retracement. So we're retracing the fib levels that are in here, right? And now we're right at the finish line of the all-time high. So once that gets worked out, it could take longer, right? What if this is, for example, we have 3 down. What if we get 3 back up and then another 3 waves down, and it becomes a much bigger flag, and then we go up later on? That could totally happen. So we don't want to be too cocky about it. We got to remain cautious. We got to remain skeptical. We got to remain on our toes. But at the end of the day, we can't ignore the fact that how bullish this really is. Because if you look here, it's actually it's doing exactly the same thing from this point here and this point here. So we're just waiting for this breakout to occur. And remember, we just had the largest liquidation event in crypto history, and it didn't even break below the retrace level. So it's doing pretty good if you ask me. So again, this is a beautiful cup, and then you also have a beautiful handle. So you have a cup and a handle. You also have a W pattern, right? If you look at the W pattern, W patterns usually go up pretty dramatically. So this is a nice pair of W's. So you can see that other W there, right? So another way we were looking at it is that this was some type of contracting triangle, which is also very bullish, right? And you can see this contracting triangle broke out to the upside. We had 3 there, which is your A. We had 3 here, which is your B. And then we had 3 down, which is your C. And then we had 3 back up, which is your D. A, B, C, D. And then we had 3 waves down, which is your E. And once we went into this E wave, it took 1 year for that 3-wave E wave to take place. 1 year. Just the E wave. It took a long time. So as an XRP holder who started buying through here, who's actually been in crypto a lot longer than that, was buying back over here, not XRP, but Bitcoin rather. Man, it was a tough ride. But then once we started getting in here, I started getting excited, but also was very cautious because, we still had a lot of unknowns. Like, for example, the president getting elected and things like that, regulations, Gary Gensler, the lawsuit. There was a lot of unknowns. And the reason I remained really bullish is because during the lawsuit, XRP still held the top 10 title. So think about it like that. XRP is the only coin on the planet that has kept a top 10 position despite not, number one, going on a bull run last cycle. So if you remember, all the coins, right? All the coins went on a bull run, and then they had their bear market, and now they're kind of dragging here. So a lot of the coins are up here. XRP was way down here, right? So, and it still held the top 10 title. Not only that, they got a lawsuit on their hands, which still held the top 10 title. Not only that, they also had Coinbase delist them, and other exchanges delist XRP, and it still held a top 10 title. So that's very, very interesting. You don't measure a coin through its strongest moments, which was here. You measure a coin through its weakest moments, which was down here. And if you look at, XRP got blasted with a lawsuit. They got delisted from the exchange. It didn't get to go on a bull run. They had all of these issues, and they had to deal with the corrupt SEC and playing favorites with the Ethereum guys, right? The ETHgate stuff. So all XRP wanted was a level playing field. So there was a lot of controversy. There's a lot of pushback. Oh, XRP is going to do nothing. It's a stable coin. It's just going sideways for years and years and years, and it's going to go to zero. It's stupid. It's dumb. But it was still holding very key areas, and the structure it was building was very bullish, and also it still held a top 10 title, right? And all this, and it was all during this accumulation structure. Right? So you can kind of see how it kind of goes up and then it flags down, right? So you can kind of say it's like a 1, 2, and now we're in the third, and then maybe we flag out for a 4 and then get a 5 later on. But I don't think it's a 1, 2 because we only have 3 waves here. So it's more likely some type of ABC structure. So again, this thing's probably got a lot more upside. Now, let's take a look at a couple targets here. If you take the whole entire thing, right, and you take it from the bottom, from the top all the way down to the bottom, and we turn this back on regular Fibonacci levels, and we can even go to the regular price. Actually, no, I hate that. Okay, so if you look here, we're right at the, where are we? We're hanging right above the 702. Okay, so we really want to close the weekly candle above the 702. We don't really want to go back below it, because once you reclaim the 702, you don't want to lose it anymore, right? So that first target is always going to be that sort of 1618 target here, the 1702. That comes in around between $4 and $5. I would say that would be target number 1. Target number 2 would be between 6 and 750, and then target number 3 would be between 8 and 10, right? And that's kind of how it goes. Now, if we blow past all of these, then we would obviously switch it to log scale, right? But right now we're on linear scale, and the top linear scale target is about $13, and I think that is a very doable price. Is it likely to happen? I mean, we're just going to have to measure the individual waves. For example, if I were to take this wave here and measure the bottom to the top, back down to the bottom, you can see we blew past all, the third wave blew past all of the Fibonacci scales by a factor of a lot. Okay? So if we go to the settings and we go to Fib scale here, you can see we actually went all the way up to the 3618, guys. We corrected. Well, actually, the top of the wave was right here. We pinpoint nailed the 3.414. Okay, so there you go. It was a 3.414. So if we take that same idea, right, and now let's try to measure it out again. So we'll take it from the bottom of the third to the top of the third, back down to the bottom of the fourth. You can see we're going to have to put this on regular. Here we go. That 3618 or the 3.414 comes in at $10, right? But we were looking at this on log scale. So how come, or we were looking at on log scale. So how come now we're looking at on linear scale? Because the magnitude is too much, right? If we flipped it back to log and we just looked at it for a second, and we actually go back to the 3618, that gets us all the way up to $1,000 XRP, guys. That's not gonna happen. I'm sorry, it's just not. I mean, if it does, I would just run down the street going completely crazy, probably have to have a straitjacket on me because I'd go insane. But that would be insane. Maybe one day in the future, the only way XRP can hit anywhere above $100 or above $200 or above $500 or above $1,000, the only way that's even remotely possible, even $80, you have to have some massive major deal, right? Ripple has to come out on stage and shake hands with the Federal Reserve. They have to come out on stage and shake hands with Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, JP Morgan, and the Treasury Department, shaking their hands all at the same time with a major deal. I mean, that's really or if we can get maybe one of those things, right? Maybe Brad Garlinghouse and Trump do a deal together, and then it passes through the Congress where Ripple takes some of the load off the federal government. Because why should taxpayers have to pay the federal government to do all the handling of the money and stuff like that, when you can basically put it on a blockchain and make it completely decentralized and no one has to pay for it? Put it on a private chain, right? And there's federated sidechains and things like that, but Ripple is a public ledger, right? So it's kind of like put it on a public ledger. So and then you also have all the derivatives, right? You have a lot of opportunity in the derivatives market. You have a lot of opportunity in the bond market, right? And then you basically have a lot of things with tokenization and stuff like that. So, DBT, right? Derivatives, bonds, tokenization. And then you have, there's other applications as well. But it's just like Brad Garlinghouse said, he started off, Amazon started off doing books, and Ripple started off doing payments. Amazon does everything in the world now. So, you want to order milk, order milk. You want to order a mattress, order a mattress. You want to order a book, order a book. I just bought a bed on Amazon. It was a car racing bed for my son, and pretty much anything, right? So that's the same concept with Ripple. So Ripple started off doing payments. They can go to other things as well. Now, I'm not a techie guy. I'm not the channel to dive deep into all of the nitty gritty techie stuff. But I do know there are some pretty cool interviews that I've seen, and they dive deep into all the numbers and how it could work out with like a buyback situation or the Federal Reserve in some way. Or in my opinion, my honest opinion, and I've been looking at Trump for a long time, and my whole thing with him is his take on the central banks, right? Because Donald Trump, the reason I supported him so strongly is because I know his history with his bankruptcies. And you can say, well, why would you want a president who went bankrupt as a private citizen? That means he doesn't know what he's doing. No, that means he has experience dealing with bankruptcies. There's only so many people in the world that survive a bankruptcy, and there's a very, 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 very small amount of people that actually come out way ahead despite being bankrupt. So Donald Trump, obviously, he's an investor. He is a business guy, right? And he created his business. Now, some of those businesses didn't work out. And some of them, caught up to him later on. But essentially what happened is he went bankrupt and he had to survive, meaning he had to go to war with the bank, right? Because the bank wants their money. And there's more stuff to it, right? It's all about like, taking a loan out. It's not like you need the loan, but what you're doing is you're leveraging the bank's money instead of leveraging your own money, right? So there's a lot of moving parts into a $1 billion enterprise, right? I mean, there's so many things going on. So essentially, Trump had to go to court and battle the banks, and he came out on top. He came out victorious. So he basically overcame a very bad situation, right? And he won. And to me, that's the kind of thinking we need. It was really, really, really tough to go to court and beat the banks, but Trump knows the banking system very, very well. So we need that type of thinking because we're in a very similar situation. Elon Musk says, no, we need Doge because we're going to bankrupt the country. No, Elon, you're totally wrong. We're already bankrupt, buddy. So, you know what I mean? The country has been bankrupt. It's been bankrupt for a long time. And it's been basically sold out to, the corporation. I mean, it's not even the USA anymore. It's USA Incorporated. It's basically a private business, the United States is, right? And it's pretty sad. And that's why it's all about taking back the country away from the corrupt media, from the corrupt FBI, from the corrupt banking system, right? Because the banking system is the head of the snake that nobody talks about, right? It's the Federal Reserve. And who is the biggest threat? Well, it looks like the biggest threat is the Federal Reserve, okay? So the Federal Reserve is the number one threat, in my opinion, and they basically took over our whole financial system back in 1913. And if you remember Trump speaking, he says our greatest economic boom throughout history was in the 1890 or so, up until 1913. And then how come no reporter says, well, what happened in 1913? Well, guess what? The Federal Reserve was created, okay? And they basically hijacked our money system and they put us on the fiat system. Now, we did have like a fractional reserve banking system. We did have a gold standard somewhat, but basically we had, basically the Federal Reserve created the dollar, and then now the dollar came up and then or came down, had a dead cat bounce, and it's been dying ever since. And now we're way down here, and thank God we have things like crypto, right? We have crypto and stuff to get us out of the banking system, because that's why I got into crypto in the first place. It is a store of value. It is essentially, basically, we're trying to protect our purchasing power from rising inflation, right? Because think about it, the government, the government borrows money from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve prints it out of thin air. The government borrows it, right? And then they loan it out, and then we, the taxpayer, have to pay it back plus interest. What sort of rigged deal is that? It's totally rigged. And that's why we have all the problems we see today. It doesn't matter if it's war or immigration or this or that or the economy or this or that or whatever. It doesn't matter. It all stems from what? Money. Everything is about money all of the time, right? Every time you turn on Fox News, CNN, hopefully you don't watch that stuff. But if you do, at the end of the day, all of those topics have all to do with money. Look what happened with the U.S. aid, right? Look at all the waste and the corruption that is being fought, right? I mean, you have like $10 million to go do sex change operations for people in Afghanistan or whatever. Like, what kind of crap is that? Why don't we feed our homeless veterans? Why don't we build our bridges better? Why don't we fill in the potholes so that we don't have to worry about popping our tires? Why don't we use that money for children's education and helping people? Why are we sending all of that money overseas for stupid things? That's not aid. Aid is food. There's only 3 things you need to survive: food, water, shelter. That is all. That is all U.S. aid should deal with, is just that stuff, right? If a country, they don't need a sex change, they need food, okay? If that's okay, right? But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be. We should help our own, and then once we're okay, then we can branch out to other things. But the problem is, they basically have a blank check and a credit card, and they just run up all of the debt. That's why we're $35 trillion in debt. That's why Trump ran in the first place. He ran on illegal immigration and the economy, but the main thing about it is he ran on the debt, right? It's all about the money. And if you want to watch a really good documentary, there's a really good series. It's right here. It's called Hidden Secrets of Money. Watch this. This is actually the creation of H-bar. If you have any H-bar fans, there's actually an episode dedicated to H-bar in there. It's really interesting. That's actually the first time I heard of H-bar. And this was a long time ago. I think this was 11 years ago, guys. And 11 years, 9 years. Okay, so 7 years ago, from Bitcoin to H-bar. H-bar is not a normal blockchain. It's like hash graph. It's different. But anyway, watch. It's a 10 episode series. Start with the first, money versus currency. And that's what it's all about. What is real money versus what is currency, right? What is a blank check versus what is a debit card versus a credit? It's all about how money is created and how it's used. And basically, the government figured out a way to leverage a private Federal Reserve central bank in order to hijack our entire money system, right? And people say, oh, I keep my money in the bank. I trust banks. It's always going to be there. But that's not the point. The point is, you put $100 in the bank. They take your $100 and then they loan it out 10 times more than it's actually worth. And then they make money on your $100. And then they don't even give you a royalty for making that money. Basically, what they do is they actually charge you to have a savings account. Some of them do, right? Or even a checking account. If you have too little money in your savings, they'll charge you. If you have too little activity in your checking, they'll charge you. So even though they're making a fortune off of your money through loaning it out. But that's just the private banks. We're not even talking that's just the regular banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America. We're not even talking about the big boys like the Federal Reserve, the IMF. Those entities are beyond corrupt. And that's where it all stems from. That's why U.S. aid is allowed to do what they do. Basically, the government is responsible for the spending, and the Federal Reserve is responsible for the creation. But if the creation of money had a standard like a gold standard or a crypto standard, and this is where I'm coming from. This is the main grand finale. So here we go. Trump's whole mission is to run for president and win, which he did. And now it is time to transition our economy from a central banking fiat currency debt enslavement economy into a new decentralized, tech-driven, AI-driven, right, decentralized-driven, crypto gold standard backed economy, right? So basically taking the old fiat currency system and using some of the features, but putting it on a stable coin or putting it through the US Treasury coin or even a Fed coin or whatever and back it by gold, right? That way the government can't just take millions and millions and billions of dollars and give it to foreign countries. They're not doing it because of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it because they receive kickbacks. They receive royalties. They say, hey, a business, think about this, like an oil guy that works in Ukraine. He says, hey, Senator, if you vote for this bill and you send money to this, then I will in turn pay you back 25% into your pocket, right? So the senator, instead of doing the will of the American people, they're doing it for their own corruption, right? Because that's why I voted for Trump in 2016. He can't be bought and paid for like Hillary Clinton All of them. They're bought and paid for by the special interest groups and the lobbyists, okay? There's another really good documentary I want you guys to watch, and that is The Money Masters, okay? This one right here is a really good watch, okay? It's pretty long. It's 3.5 hours long, but watch it in segments. It's really, really, really good. This is the biggest red pill. This is why Trump ran. If you want to know the real reason why Trump ran for president, watch this documentary. It'll blow you away about the history. This is going back to like the 1500s, the 1600s, the 1800s, the Federal Reserve. It goes back even to the Roman days of how currency is, and it describes exactly how corruption breeds within the banking system and how the bankers essentially hijack the financial system and make it their own. That is the number one reason why I am so outspoken for Trump, but also into crypto, right? It's all about crypto. Now that we have crypto, we have the ultimate weapon. We have the kryptonite to the central banks, okay? And that's what it's all about. And that is why it is so important that we forget, your expectations of price and things like that. And for me, it's all about just dollar cost averaging, hodling, buying the dip. Don't worry about the big crashes. Buy the dip. It's all about the long-term move here, okay? So go definitely watch The Money Masters and Hidden Secrets of Money. The Money Masters and Hidden Secrets of Money. They're long, they're a series, but it is so worth it. And it'll be the best documentary you've ever seen or heard of when it comes to money and the banks and how it all works, how it really works, right? And this goes even through the Rothschilds, right? And the central banks and the families, right? I mean, it is some twisted stuff. And that is why crypto is so important. That is why it has taken so long for XRP just to even wake up, is because, remember, Joe Biden was president for the last 4 years. And then prior to that, you could say, well, how come Trump didn't come out for crypto back then? Because it wasn't the right time. It's all about optics, and it's all about timing. And it's all about playing your card at the right moment, putting your chess piece in position at the right moment, not playing it too early, not playing it too late, playing it at the right moment. I think he played the crypto card at the perfect moment, right before the election. So, and now we start to see the big things is, right? And that's why it's been held back. So if you look at Bitcoin, it's been out since 2008, 2009, 2010, right around there. And, it's been already 15 years plus. It's been 15, 16 years plus. And nothing's really happened except, of course, Bitcoin going to $100,000, which is a massive deal. But as far as the big thing about it, which is putting it into the mainstream, which it's been doing, but then also getting the regulations so that businesses can use the technology, right, to save money, right? Think about why Ripple's there in the first place. They're trying to reduce the friction in the banking system. If I want to send $2,000 to El Salvador for whatever reason, I don't know why, then I'm going to have to go through a bank. I'm going to put it through the wire system. I'm going to have to wire the money. It's going to take some time to get there. So Ripple reduces the friction. It basically makes it so much cheaper to send money. And then it's all about one thing. When it comes to money, it's about one thing and one thing only. You know what that is? It's all about trust. Okay? It's all about trust. I don't want to have to trust a 75-year-old banker, old dude, right, to handle my money, to make sure he's doing the right thing when it comes to, when I say my money, I'm talking about our dollar, our euro, our pound, our this, our that, right? I'm talking about the currency we all use, right? So if everybody has a $20 bill and everybody can use that $20 bill, but now the banker made that $20 bill, he put a dent in it, he scratched it, right? He devalued my $20 bill. I worked hard for my $20 bill, and now the bankers, they screwed it up. Now they made it a $10 bill, okay? That is why crypto is so important, and that is why I think XRP is going to go way higher, right? Because it's all about trust. It's all about trust, but it's mostly about trustless, right? We want a trustless system. So having a trustless system removes the questions, removes the doubts about our financial system, about how we transact. And that is why I think Trump is here. That is the main reason why Trump is here, is so that we can transition. Because even after, let's say Trump does his term and then leaves, well, guess what? We're still in the same problem. We're still going to have the same corruption. We're going to have the same problem. We need a completely new system. And in order to do that, we might need a big crash, right? We might need a big reset. Remember the Great Reset, the economic deal, right? Because he's battling all the globalists. It's all about the globalists, right? The World Economic Forum, the global elites, right? The central banks, right? The elites, right? So he is taking away the whole system away from those globalists, away from the deep state. It's all about the deep state, right? It's Trump and the patriots versus the deep state and the central banks. That's the war, right? That is World War III right there. Trump and the patriots versus the deep state and the central banks and the globalists. And that's what we're fighting against. And then what is it all about, though? What's the fight all about? It's about money. It's always about money. It's about who controls the money. And that is why crypto is such an extremely important topic. And people talk about, because of the tech and because of the price. No. This is a weapon, okay? Crypto is a weapon. And gold also, don't forget about gold. Gold will destroy the Fed because gold is a reflection of the dying currency, of the dying dollar, right? And Trump is probably, he doesn't want to save the dollar because the dollar is so corrupt. What he wants to do is he wants to transition the U.S. the Federal Reserve debt note, because it's not a U.S. dollar. It's a Federal Reserve debt note. He wants to take that debt note and transition it into a decentralized treasury bill or a treasury dollar or a U.S. dollar, not a U.S. Federal Reserve debt note, because a debt note is worthless. But a U.S. dollar is not. Why is it not worthless? Because a U.S. dollar compared to a Federal Reserve debt note, it's backed by gold. It is backed by something tangible, right? You could back it with real estate. You could back it with gold. You could back it with copper, with silver, with Bitcoin, with whatever. And that is what it's really about, right? And now with the invention of blockchain and crypto, now we could put it on the blockchain and it could be lightning fast. So if I'm dealing with somebody in China, I don't have to deal with the banks. Why do we need the middleman? Me and you, we're doing business together, right? So you're my contractor and I'm doing business with you. Why do I need a central bank in the middle between us when we can cut the middleman out and then we can have all the profits, right? Because it's our money, it should be our profit. So, and that's another thing too, is taxes. Taxes is so rigged. We spend so much money in taxes, and we have the mafia, the IRS, making sure we pay our taxes so that the government politicians can take our money and basically throw it in the trash and basically give it to themselves, right? But now if you have crypto, it's going to be much harder to do that. And then you have all of the religious people who say, crypto's a bad thing because it's central bank digital currency and it's the mark of the beast and I don't want that, blah, blah, blah. But they don't understand that there's two digital currencies. You have the decentralized, more peer-to-peer system, and then you have the centralized central bank fiat currency CBDC system. There's two totally different systems, right? And Trump's even said, I don't want a CBDC. I want crypto, I want a dollar, and I want gold, right? So you take crypto, you take the dollar, and you take gold, and you melt it into a coin, into a digital coin that everybody can use, right? So as far as paper money goes, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But anyways, my rant is over, I think. So there you go. That's what this is all about. And if you go down the middle of it, what is the most important crypto? Because we just talked about some heavy stuff, right? Okay, so now take it to the next level. What is the most important crypto on the planet that can solve all the issues I just said? Guess what that is? XRP, guys. It's XRP. Okay, so if you want to talk about, right, because I'm a price guy, I got to look at the technicals here. If you look at the price, you look at the 4.236 extension, that gets us to $10 to $13. Okay, no big deal. But now let's move that up to log scale. Okay, so if you go to a 2618 extension, or we'll just even start with the 1618 extension on log scale, that's $27 XRP. Okay, and then you get to the 2618, that's $764. Okay, and then it just gets insane from there. So you're looking at $1,000, between $500 and $1,000 XRP if it really wanted to take on the big role of, maybe a private contract through this federal government, basically offloading all of the transactions and put it on the Ripple network, or put it on the Stellar network, or put it on, whatever network, right? And then you also have the stable coins that Ripple's coming out with, or that's already here, right? RLUSD. And then you have pictures like this that they confirmed, right? That's Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. That's the CFO, the CLO, the Chief Legal Officer, Stuart Alderati, and they're both hanging out with Trump. What are they talking about? Obviously, they're talking about crypto policy, but what I'm interested to know is, are they talking about some deals, right? Because Trump, the reason he's so good and successful is because he listens to everybody. He goes, well, look at all the executive orders he signed. How did he get all those executive orders? Well, because those are from people who requested them. They'll call up Trump and say, hey, Trump, hey, how about doing an executive order on this, and this, and this, and that? And then Trump says, yeah, it makes sense. I love it. Let's do it. Right? So he's very open-minded. So my big question is, we just talked about the central banks, the corruption at the Federal Reserve, right? And basically they hijacked our monetary system. So Trump is looking for solutions. He's looking for, how do we defeat the Rothschild central banking corrupt system? How do we defeat that? Well, there's only one way, crypto. And it's not going to be Bitcoin. There's no way Bitcoin can do it, right? Bitcoin is a 1950s classic Ferrari. You take it out once in a while and drive it. No big deal. But it's not a freaking diesel truck. You don't drive it every day. It's a store of value. It is meant to be stored away, right? It's a store of value. That's it. XRP is actually a utility-driven coin. It's meant to do a specific purpose, a job, and it can do many different jobs, right? So Trump is looking for solutions. How do we defeat the central bank? What type of solution can we bring to the American people where it's fair for everybody, where it's a level playing field, so that we don't have to worry about government corruption, right? Could they be even remotely talking about the possibility of having Ripple take some role? Now, I'm not saying XRP is going to be the new world reserve currency. I'm not saying XRP is going to be the new US dollar. I'm not even saying the Ripple ledger is going to have anything to do with government or central banks. But what I'm saying is, there are specific contracts that they can fulfill. Like, for example, the derivatives market, the bond market, right? They can look at the Treasury Department. There's a lot of different things that the government can do to basically work with a company like Ripple and in turn use XRP in some fashion. Now, I'm not the guy to really know hardcore about that stuff. But, listen to Digital Asset Investor, listen to Brad Kimes, Digital Perspectives. They know a lot about that stuff, right? And there's a lot of different theories. There's the Fed buyback. There's the Shane Ellis theory. There's all kinds of different, theories that could put Ripple in a position where it basically dominates, where you basically have like a $100 or a $500 or even $1,000 coin at some point in the future. Do I think it's going to happen this bull run? I don't know. I don't think so. But at the same time, this bull run is important because it is the first bull run in 7-8 years that is actually going to propel XRP to the next level, right? So if you look at this, right, this is level 1, boom, step up. Now we're going into level 2, boom, step up. Now we go into level 3. Once, think about it like a game. Once we go into level 3, that's when opportunities start to open up. Well, what about XRP being an on-demand liquidity source for this banking contract or this government contract? Or what if Ripple can be, the Ripple or the XRP ledger can tokenize this bond over here or this stock over here or whatever, right? There's so many different applications that Ripple can use. That's why you have all these people coming up with these crazy valuations, and I'm not endorsing them. I'm not saying they're impossible. I'm saying they're not likely. The reason why they're not likely is because we don't have a deal. We have no substance. It's all conspiracy, right? But we know that it's possible, okay? After everything I just said, Trump is open-minded. He is looking for something to, and I think he already has it. Now, some people say, oh, that's going to be the quantum financial system, and it's going to be quantum computers, and this and that, and it's going to be unhackable. And I don't know about that stuff, right? That's a big theory. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. And then you have the ISO 202 whatever coins, right? That could be in that segment like HBAR, XLM, Algorand, IOTA, XRP, right? You have those, the black cards, right? So you have those that could do specific roles, you know what I mean? So there's so many different applications, and that's what I'm saying, right? But as a trader, as a technical analyst, I can't assume that that's all going to work out. Now, I've done a lot of research on the central banks going back years, and as much as I would love it for it to happen, as much research as I've done, there's no concrete proof that that is going to happen. Now, there's so many possibilities that my thinking is there's bound to happen at least one or two doors are going to open for Ripple so that they can get on a much higher level than they are now. Now, what are those going to be? I have no idea. That's why I have to look at the chart and I have to look at the technicals, and the technicals don't lie. It's going to be around between $8 and $10, maybe up to $13. And if we hit a grand slam, you're talking $27, $28. And I think that's it. I think that's the top. Now, a lot of people say $50, $100, $1,000, $10,000. The only way that's going to happen is if you have some major announcement, a major deal. And remember, Trump only has 4 years. So within the 4 years he's going to be president, you got to believe there's going to be some major deal. Now, what if it's not XRP? What if it's something else? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But there's no other company in the world like Ripple that is in the position they are to handle such a big payload. Remember, the lawsuit, in my opinion, was a vetting process. There's no company on the planet Earth that has been vetted, no crypto fintech company on planet Earth that has been vetted more so than XRP. The SEC has looked at every bank record, every document, every file that Ripple has, and basically they go, you know what? They are clean as a whistle, right? So that was a vetting process. So now that Ripple passed the test, now they can assume a world stage role, right? So now they're on the world stage. Now they can assume a big financial role because they're so trustworthy, right? Because they've passed all the tests, right? If the SEC That's why they chose Ripple, because SEC knew Ripple was the biggest threat of all time. They knew if anybody could succeed and take down Bitcoin, take down Ethereum, and when I mean take it down, I mean take some of the market share away, because they're two totally different coins, right? They believed, right? And they knew it was a threat. And you attack those you fear the most, right? As the Art of War, Sun Tzu would say, you attack those you fear the most, right? So who did they fear the most? Ripple. Why? Because Ripple is such a threat. And that is why I love seeing Trump and Brad Garlinghouse speak together, because, who's the number one American blockchain company in the world? Ripple. Who is the number one America first president in the world? Trump, right? So you put those two guys together. Trump wants Ripple to succeed. Why? Because Ripple is the Walmart of retail for America, right? Just like, Amazon is also retail, right? He wants American companies to do very, very well. He is depending on that, because if American companies do well, then the American economy will do well and the American people will do well, right? So he wants Ripple to succeed and do extremely well because they're an American company. And he knows he doesn't want China to win. So he knows Ripple is the biggest American blockchain fintech company in the world, in the United States, right? And he wants to use them as a weapon so that China doesn't win. So that Mexico, well, I don't think Mexico is even in the race, but basically it's all about China. We don't want China to win, okay? We want the United States to win. And the only way we can do that is having good companies, good, solid American hardcore companies to be in that position. And who's the number one? It's Ripple. That's why we've seen this big price movement too, right? And I believe it hasn't even really gotten started yet. So anyway, if you can like the video, and if you made it this far, you can hit that like button. I really appreciate it. I think it really deserves a like, especially because of everything we just talked about. I'm trying to put it all in a picture frame for you so that we can understand where I'm coming from, right? Because I don't like to talk about politics. I just like to talk about crypto. But you know what? We're at a phase in our planet that we have to talk about it, because it really comes down to the politics of crypto, right? We have to get regulations. We have to. That's the only way the big money. If you want XRP to go above $30, we need concrete regulations. We need, basically the technology to be implemented. Because if you look at, take Walmart, for example. Can Walmart call up Ripple and use their blockchain tech for whatever they got going on? Probably, maybe, probably not. Why is that? Because it's not regulated. So Walmart works in the U.S. banking system, right? So that's why they do. So, but if we can change that and we can get out of the banking system, and because that's what it's all about. It's about debanking the United States and making it more decentralized. That way we don't have to deal with the banks, right? So when Walmart and Amazon or whoever is conducting their business, they don't have to conduct all of it through the banking system. They can do it via blockchain, via crypto. But they can't do it because there's no regulation. That's why we needed Trump. That's why I talk about Trump. All right, there we go. It's a never-ending thing. So we need to win. We need to win. All right, well, let's look at the small time frames, and then we'll wrap it up real quick here. So the small time frames, remember, we're looking at this as a flat, A, B, C. We also looked at this, remember, yesterday as our fractal. So here's our fractal right here. So here's what happened, or here's the current price action, right? And here's what happened in the past. We came up here, we flushed the low, we built a base, and then we continued higher. That's exactly what I think is going to happen here. Now, the big question is, are we right here, and we have to drop lower, then come up higher like this, flag out, go, flag out, go? I mean, it's possible. Yeah, we could do that. Or what we could do is simply go sideways here. We want to get away from the scene of the crime. That was a big, nasty crime scene. So we want to get away from it, and we want to consolidate. We want to build a base, right? So, and that's what we're doing here. So if you look at what's going on here, you know, we kind of got a little bit of a three-wave move. We got 3 up. I'd like to see 3 back down, and then maybe another 3 back up. I want to see oscillation at the lows here. I want to see consolidate. That way, you know, it proves to me that there's support being held. Otherwise, this is a big crash, a dead cat bounce, and then we have 1, 2, and then we come back down for 3. We flush the lows here, and then we get going, right? Which would still in turn create a base. So it's a little bit challenging. Remember, it was 1 week ago when we had the massive liquidation event. Sundays have been extremely bloody, right? I keep talking about Sundays. You know, and look at today. The Sunday it's actually another down Sunday, and I can't believe it, right? Actually, that's sarcasm. I can't believe it. So you could just look at the market. Some things are down. Look at Monero. It's up 3.5% today. Not bad at all. If you want to know my take on Monero, just watch my previous videos. But yeah, I think Monero, you know, it's such a weird, interesting chart. It has the same reaccumulation structure as XRP, but the funny thing about it is, why is it acting so bullish? Well, because it has that same structure like what XRP did. But why a privacy coin? Is anyone building on it? Well, maybe it's because, you know, who uses privacy? Who would need to use privacy? Right? The deep state and the patriots, the ones that are fighting each other because they don't want to see each other's transactions, right? You know, so the deep state has to cover their tracks. So maybe they're using Monero, a privacy coin, to cover their tracks. I don't know. But it's kind of interesting. But anyway, I digress. So there we go. That's basically XRP. And this is an XRP only video. I didn't want to get into the rest of the market. But basically the rest of the market is pretty much the same thing. I mean, if you look at THETA, it's actually a little bit more bearish. You can kind of see we're starting to break the lows here. So basically, this is the bottoming process. This is like ripping the Band-Aid off. This is like torture, right? The hard part is coming back down, right? Because it gives you time to think, right? When you're in the middle of the moment of the big crash, you have no time to think. And it comes down and it comes right back up. And it's like, okay, now we have relief. But now guess what? It's coming back down. And you know why it's coming back down? Because I said it was. I told you guys it was going to come back down. The reason why is because that's what usually always happens, which is coming back down and retesting the lows. But this time it's not doing it very, very, very fast. It's doing it very slow, which means it makes it more torturous. It makes it more complicated. It makes people think about it more, right? Because what the market makers want is for you to give up and sell. That way they can flush the low and buy it on a liquidity grab, right? Because if the big whales, they got $10 million, they want to buy crypto, they can't get their order filled unless they take out the lows here. So if you take out the low, you have a big liquidity grab, then those guys with $10 million can fill their orders. So more than likely, we're either, number one, going to take the low, get divergence, or we're going to challenge the low and develop a base and then go up. So it's going to be one of those two. I'm not sure which one. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But yeah, Monero looks okay right now. So real quick, back to XRP. You know, there's really nothing to say except let's look at the retrace level here. So if we look here, we're right in the golden zone, which is important. The golden zone between the 50 and the 618, that's exactly where you would want to be. So let's see if we can hold this, maintain this area, develop a base, and then continue higher, because ultimately the target is around 530, 563 or so. So still looking at this as a fourth wave, some type of expanded flat. And yeah, let's see if we can work our way out. But that'll do it for this video. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit that like, subscribe, drop a comment, consider joining the membership. I put out 2 member videos a month, kind of going into the nitty-gritty stuff. We'll talk about targets, we'll talk about rotations, the stuff that actually matters in crypto, which is making money. That's why we're all here. It's all about money, right? It's all about money. That's what it's about. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here, because we want to make money. And the best way to make money is to learn. And the best way to learn is just to listen. And, my videos are pretty long, but, that so is a, if you want to become a lawyer, you're going to have to go to college, and you're going to have to listen to a guy speak for an hour. I just try to make it not as boring as the professor, but, but this is more like a rant video. It's not really a teaching video. So if you want more of a teaching style where I actually teach you how to trade, how to do things like that, then maybe consider. But yeah, this video is just me getting my thoughts out about XRP, about the overall state of the price, about where we are in the chart, about Trump and the banks, and how that's going to boil down to our economy and basically the future of crypto, as far as us getting regulations and things like that. It's a big puzzle piece that we have to put together, and reading the charts is hard enough, but digesting all that other stuff, it's pretty challenging, right? So we have to just take it day by day, and let's see what happens. But that'll do it for this video. Again, if you can hit that like, I always appreciate it, especially because I go over an hour long, and then it really kills the views and the momentum. But it is what it is. And with that being said, remember, not financial advice. I could be wrong, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.